Hello there. So that was a very exciting 2023 Monte Carlo F1 Grand Prix. Um, the rain shower at the end was a real gift for the fans, I would say. It was absolutely amazing to watch the best drivers make, really give the fans a show, showing off their skill in the wet. Sometimes kissing the wall. You can see the difference the driver makes around Monte Carlo. There's no better example than, say, with Aston Martin, one car finishing second and one car finishing out of the race. Um, and yeah, it seems like anytime there's any kind of strategic curveball, then Ferrari, mess it up and don't know what to do. Um, but okay, on to today's video. I was surprised that I haven't actually done a setup video for Monaco. Um, I would start with the obvious. Obviously, you want the max downforce level due to all the short straights, or maybe not even having much of a long, not really having any straights. I think the even what are called straights are not really straight. Um, so with the large amount of corners relative straights, you obviously want the max downforce level. With the very tight Lowe's hairpin, you want the absolute maximum available steering lock, and I would imagine the all the F1 cars are designed so the steering lock that's available that is designed to just about accommodate the Lowe's hairpin and no more. And you need a softer than normal suspension to maximize the amount of mechanical grip. But what does that mean? What does mechanical grip mean? So um, mechanical grip, you have to think of, especially in terms of warp. So the front axle moving in one direction, whereas the rear axle is moving in the other direction, and that typically happens if there's a bump. So you want to absolutely minimize the uneven tire distribution. So from tire saturation effect, you know that higher the higher you load one tire relative to another, um, the less overall grip you have. And so you want a relatively soft car in warp, even if you still want a very stiff car in roll and heave. But because F1 has banned the interconnected hydraulic suspensions, the teams have to set up the cars with much more conventional means, just springs and anti-roll bars. So, considering the fact that the cars are all ground effect, the springs would probably still have to be relatively stiff, but I would imagine the anti-roll bars would be very soft. So if you think most of the corners are relatively low speed and but are very bumpy, so you definitely do not want very stiff anti-roll bars to lift one or more wheels off the ground, because then you really don't have a lot of very good mechanical grip. But a really good example of how compromised the setups actually are from a mechanical point of view could be seen in today's race when the rain came down. There were some cars that had so little grip in the front, even with maximum steering lock, they couldn't get around the tight corners around the Lowe's hairpin. That was pretty funny to see. Um, and because the corners are all low speed, this is due to the torque multiplication effect from the gearbox. The the effect from the engine braking, engine acceleration via the limited slip differential is actually very important. And so, if, for example, if you think about a very high speed corner where you're in a very high gear, the effect from so the relative strength from aero versus drivetrain, the aero will dominate. But in very low speed corners, it's the drivetrain that will dominate the cornering behavior. And so because Monte Carlo is all about the low speed corners, the limited slip differential setup is very important. And as mentioned, with the low speed corners, traction out of the low speed corner is really important. And so the roll stiffness, you want them from springs rather than anti-roll bars. And even for the springs, you probably run them slightly softer than normal. The tire pressures, and especially the rear tire pressures, you'd probably want to run them at the absolute minimum possible, due to all the low speed traction events. And the engine torque usability is much more important than the top end power. So if you think, say, something like Silverstone, where it's all, or Barcelona, where it's a whole bunch of high-speed corners, some long straights, then you definitely the top end power is very important. But Monte Carlo is all about acceleration and the driver being able to have a very usable power band where the power comes on the minute, not the minute, the second the driver puts on the throttle. So they want the engine to be very predictable so that they can be able to meter out the exact amount of torque. Especially considering today's slippery conditions, and just in general, all the low speed acceleration events. It's and I think you saw that as well. So like the Renault. Because I'm quite pressed for time, it might be that I've forgotten some things, but I think this should cover most of it. Um, if you think of anything, please let me know in the comments, and also in general, if you have any feedback, please let me know in the comments. Hope it was interesting. Until next time.